I didn't grow up here. I moved to this town 6 weeks ago. It was supposed to be a clean start. One of those small towns with crooked sidewalks, a corner diner, and neighbors who wave whether they know you or not. I was coming off a bad year, death in the family, job loss, a breakup that felt more like a fracture than a separation. So I rented a tiny apartment above a hardware store, moved in with whatever I could fit in the trunk of a rusted-out hatchback, told myself it was temporary, told myself I just needed a quiet place to be no one for a while. And for the first few weeks, it almost worked. The town was quiet, polite, predictable, until I started noticing the posters. The first time I saw one, I was walking to the diner just after dusk. It was taped to a telephone pole near the park, half covered by a flyer about a missing dog. It was black and white, plain, grainy. A man's face, young, maybe 30, with that same slightly off expression you see in most missing person photos. Too still, not ready to be remembered. His name was printed under the image. No last name, just Luke. I read it, walked past, didn't think much about it. But the next night, it was a different face, same spot, same layout, different photo. This time, it was a girl. Looked like she was in high school, glasses, ponytail. Same haunted expression, like whoever took the picture had already forgotten who she was. And the night after that, another one, then another. Always a different face, always just one name, always freshly taped, like someone had come through in the middle of the night to replace it. At first, I thought the town was just unlucky, or that someone was running a strange awareness campaign. But then I started checking the other polls and realized it wasn't just that one. Every telephone pole, every notice board, every window of every closed down shop, same poster, same face. And then, overnight, changed. New photo, new name, no explanation. No one else seemed to notice. Not the barista at the coffee shop, not the guy who ran the gas station, not the kids who hung out by the train tracks. So I started asking questions. I started with the librarian, old woman, sharp eyes, the kind of face that made you believe she knew how many teeth you had just by hearing your voice. She said, "Oh, those. They've always been there." I asked what they meant. She said, "What they say." Then she smiled, but not the kind of smile people give when they're being kind. The kind of smile people give when they want to end the conversation without raising their voice. I kept pushing. She told me they used to say more, full names, dates, details, but people started getting scared, started moving away. So now they keep it simple. I asked who puts them up. She said, "Nobody." And that was the last thing she said to me. After that, every time I came in, she'd walk to the back and pretend to be busy until I left. I started photographing them. Every night, before bed, I'd walk the length of Main Street and snap a picture of each poster. By the end of the second week, I had over 30. No repeats, no overlaps, all different people, no one I recognized. Until last night. That's when I saw me, my face, taped to every pole, every wall, every shop window, same blank stare, same shirt I'd worn 3 days earlier. No last name, just Daniel. I didn't go home. I walked the entire town twice, like seeing it again would somehow make it less real. But it was me. No question. I touched one, peeled the corner up. It felt warm, almost damp. And when I stepped away, I swear the photo blinked. Not obviously, not cartoonish. Just enough to make me freeze. Just enough to make me question if I'd actually seen it. That night, I slept in my car on the edge of town, windows up, doors locked, and still I dreamed of static, of a radio station with no dial, broadcasting names I didn't recognize in a voice that might have been mine. When I woke up this morning, I drove straight to the edge of town, Highway East, The only road that isn't a dead end or a loop. I got a mile out before I realized something was wrong with the signs. They were reversed, not flipped like a mirror, not printed backward, just wrong, like someone had recreated them from memory and missed the tone. Welcome to Groveside had become Return Well, Stranger. The gas station at the county line was boarded up. The pavement started to crack. And when I stopped the car, turned it around, and drove back the way I came, the posters were gone. Every one of them. Every photo. Every name. Clean poles. Empty windows. Like the town had decided to reset the stage. But I know what I saw. And I know what this means. Because the last face on those posters had always been replaced by someone new the next night. Which means tonight, someone else's face is going up. Unless I don't make it that far. Unless this isn't a warning. Unless the posters aren't about who's missing. They're about who's next. I didn't talk to anyone the next morning. Didn't order coffee. Didn't wave at the mailman. Just kept my head down and walked. Like someone carrying a secret that knew how to scream if I let it. But even without speaking, people looked at me differently. Longer. Like they'd been told something I hadn't. Like they'd seen the posters too. But this time, recognized the face. Around noon, I passed two old men playing checkers outside the barber shop. I'd walked by them every day since moving here. Never heard them say a word. Just nods, slow movements. Two ghosts playing the same match for decades. This time one of them spoke. He said, "You should have left when the paper was still dry." I turned, but neither of them looked at me. He moved his piece and said, "They don't take well to curious types. Not for long." The other one added, "Now they've got your image, they won't give it back." Still didn't look up. Like they were reading a script they'd read 100 times. I left before they could say anything else. Something about the way they spoke. It didn't feel like advice. It felt like confirmation, like it was already too late. That night, I didn't leave the apartment. I pushed a dresser against the door, turned off every light, pulled the blinds, sat on the floor with a kitchen knife in one hand and my phone in the other, watching the clock blink too slow. And still, I heard movement. Soft. Not footsteps. Not voices. Paper. Being peeled. Unfolded. Brushed against walls. There's a sound to tape being pulled from a roll. A dry, sticky snap, followed by the rip of adhesive finding skin. I heard it again and again from outside my window, but I didn't look, because part of me already knew what I'd see. More of me. More photos. Maybe newer ones now. Eyes more tired, mouth less sure. I curled up under the window. At some point, I must have passed out. Not sleep, just the kind of unconsciousness your body forces when the mind tries to outrun it too long. When I woke up, it was morning, and the power was out. The fridge was warm, the clock dead, the outlets humming softly, like they were still dreaming about electricity. And the mirror in my bathroom was covered in flyers, all mine, taped corner to corner. No space left. I ripped them down, tore them into pieces, flushed them, burned them in the sink, crushed them into the trash. It didn't matter, because underneath, etched into the mirror glass, were the words, "Daniel is missing, not scratched, grown," like the mirror had bloomed the sentence overnight. That's when I realized this wasn't about the posters. It was about the idea, the presence of being looked for, and maybe the town needed that, like some kind of offering, a name, a face, a reason to keep looking so it never had to look inward. I left the apartment, didn't lock the door, didn't bother, just walked until the buildings started to look familiar in ways they shouldn't. A house I'd never entered, but knew the wallpaper. A storefront I'd never passed. but recognized the dust on the shelves. The town wasn't just repeating names, it was recycling memories. And I was starting to lose mine. Little things at first. What I'd eaten the day before. The name of a girl I dated for a year. The sound of my own voice when I tried to leave a message on my phone. When I checked my ID, it still said Daniel. But the photo was different. Not someone else. Just a slightly off version of me. Teeth showing when I don't smile like that. Hair parted the wrong way. Eyes looking just past the camera, like there was someone behind it whispering instructions. I showed it to the clerk at the corner store. She looked at it, then at me, then smiled and said, "You're right on time." I asked, "For what?" She didn't answer, just reached under the counter, pulled out a stack of folded papers, and handed me one. I didn't open it. I walked outside, hands shaking, sat on the curb and unfolded it with the kind of dread you save for medical bills or goodbye letters. It was a poster, not of me, of a girl, blonde, maybe 20, big eyes, scared, no last name, just Evelyn. I should have felt relief, but I didn't, because the bottom of the flyer said, "Last seen with Daniel," and underneath it, smaller, "He keeps getting away." I don't know who Evelyn is, but I have a feeling she's real, and I have a feeling I'm the reason she won't be for long. I asked everyone I could about her, walked store to store, diner to library, trying not to sound desperate, trying not to shake when I said her name. Evelyn. It felt wrong in my mouth, like I was saying something sacred without permission. No one gave me a straight answer. A few people nodded like they'd heard it once, a long time ago, like a song you can't place, but somehow know the chorus. A man at the garage said, "She was too loud. That's why they took her." I asked what he meant. He looked at me, eyes glazed like he was seeing something years behind me. She kept pulling posters down, screaming in the square, said she saw herself on one before it ever went up. He wiped his hands on a rag that looked older than the building. "Don't do what she did," he said. "Just be quiet. Let the town forget you." I walked out before he could finish, because I finally understood something. The town doesn't kill people. It erases them. That's what the posters are. Not warnings, not requests for help. They're the first draft of a disappearance, a soft deletion, a rehearsal for memory loss. You go missing here the same way a name wears off a headstone, slow, silent, permanent, and I was already halfway gone. I couldn't remember my parents' voices. I couldn't remember how I got here, not the drive, not the day, just being here, like I'd been dropped into a story already halfway through. The only thing that still felt real was Evelyn's name and the guilt. Even though I'd never seen her before that flyer, something deep down said I had. Maybe not in person, maybe just in the corners of my memory the town hadn't eaten yet. But I knew I had to find her, or what was left. I started carrying the flyer with me, not to show people, to remind myself what I was trying to save. Because the longer I stayed, the more my mind started to rewrite her. Some days she had blue eyes, some days green. Sometimes I swore she had an accent. Sometimes I wasn't sure if she was ever real. But the flyer didn't change. It was constant, ink sharp, paper stiff, the one real thing I had left, until the day it bled. I woke up with it in my hand, creased, damp, and when I unfolded it, there was a red smear across the photo. Not paint, not ink, something thick, wet, still warm, and the words at the bottom had changed. Now it said, "She's beneath us." I didn't know if it meant literally. I didn't care. I ran, back to the post office, down the alley behind it, past the broken fence and the trash bins and the rusted stairwell. There was a hatch there, one I'd never noticed before. Metal, old, bolted, but only from the outside. I pulled it open. The air that came out was heavy, stale, like paper left in a sealed box for too long. And underneath, stairs, thin, iron, spiraling into dark. I went down, didn't think, didn't call out, just descended, flashlight shaking in my hand, until the light started bouncing off walls covered in glue and dust and faces. Flyers, thousands, some torn, some whole, some half melted into the walls like the ink had bonded with the stone. And in the center of it all, one chair, one girl, head down, flyers pinned to her clothes, stuck to her skin like leeches. Evelyn. I knew it was her, even with her face hidden, even with her body limp. I stepped closer. She didn't move. I said her name, soft. Nothing. Louder. Still nothing. Then I touched one of the flyers stuck to her arm, and she screamed, not out loud, just into the room, the walls, the air. The flyers all fluttered at once like birds startled by gunshot. And in that moment, she looked up, eyes wild, mouth moving, but no sound. I grabbed her hand, tried to pull the papers off. They fought back, literally pulled against me, like the ink had arms. I tore one free, then another. And as I did, she started to speak, not words, just broken syllables, like a voice box being rebuilt. When I got the last one off, she collapsed. I caught her, whispered, "It's okay. I see you." She looked at me, smiled, then said, "No, it sees you." And behind me, the sound of footsteps, not one set, dozens, hundreds, marching in rhythm, all paper, all hollow. I turned and saw them. The missing, the real ones. Not dead, not ghosts, just erased. No faces, no names. Just skin the color of newspaper and hands that reached like they were still writing something they'd forgotten. I pulled Evelyn up. We ran. Didn't look back. The staircase bent, the walls shifted, but we didn't stop. We came out in the cemetery. No idea how, no time to ask, just air, stars, wind that didn't whisper anymore. But when I looked down, there were flyers on the graves, fresh, 2 of them. One said, "Evelyn, found." The other, "Daniel, in progress." We stayed hidden for 2 days. Not that it made a difference. The town doesn't search for you. It waits. That's worse. Because waiting means it already knows where you are. It just needs you to get tired, hungry, lonely enough to start asking the wrong questions again. We slept in the basement of an abandoned flower shop on the north end, curled up under rotting insulation and crumpled petals that smelled like old breath. Evelyn didn't talk much. When she did, her voice came in pieces, like parts of her were still catching up, or maybe still deciding whether they were allowed to be real again. I asked her what happened down there, how long she'd been beneath the post office, why they took her. She shook her head, said, "I'm not the first." I asked, "Then who was?" And she looked at me with that expression people give when they know something you shouldn't. She said, "You." And I laughed. I couldn't help it. It sounded like something out of a bad movie. But she didn't. She just stared. Then she pulled something from her coat pocket. A flyer. Old. Faded. Edges torn and smeared like it had been soaked and dried more than once. She handed it to me. And I looked. My name was at the top. Full name. Not just Daniel. First, middle, last. The picture wasn't a photo. It was a sketch. But it was me. Not how I looked now. how I looked as a kid, 7 years old. And at the bottom, scribbled in the same sharp pen as all the others, returned unsent. I dropped it, asked her what that meant. She said, "Not everyone gets written. Some of us just get copied." That's when I started shaking, not from fear, from recognition, because somewhere deep inside, under all the memories I thought were mine, something was twitching, like a word you forgot how to say, but your mouth still remembers the shape. I remembered a name I'd never heard before, a room I'd never been in. I remembered screaming, not from pain, from being revised. That night, Evelyn told me what the town really is. It's not haunted, it's not cursed, it's a factory, not of bodies, of stories. And the people were drafts, prototypes, fragments that used to belong to someone else, repurposed and rewritten into things the town needs. Some of us become full people. We get names, apartments, jobs. We get routines, groceries, paychecks, a sense of self just sturdy enough to keep us from noticing it's hollow. And then the posters go up, not because we're missing, but because the original finally is. The person we were built from. When they vanish, the echo starts to collapse, and the town gets ready to erase us too. I asked her how she knew all of this. She said she was supposed to be someone else once, a girl named Marcy. She remembered the name like a bruise. She said, "I had a bedroom once, purple walls, real parents, a dog with one eye," but she disappeared. I was built to hold her shape, to keep her story going in case someone came looking. But they didn't. So I started to come apart. That's what the posters are. Not just announcements. They're templates, assignments. The town puts up your face to see if you still match what you were made from. And if you don't, you get peeled, recycled, written into someone else. It was quiet after that, long enough that I thought maybe we'd both fallen asleep. Then she whispered, "I think your original is missing again." I didn't answer, because I was starting to feel it. The cracks, the scenes I couldn't place, the days I didn't remember starting. The fact that no one in town had ever said my name unless I said it first. That when I signed my lease, the pen didn't leave any ink behind. That my reflection in the diner window always blinked a second too late. I asked her what happens if I leave. She shook her head. "You won't get far. The roads loop. The maps rewrite. The sky forgets you after 10 miles. But if I stay..." She looked away, said, "Then they finish you." We ran again the next morning. Not because something was chasing us, because something was waiting to be born. Everywhere we went, people smiled too wide. Storefronts were open but unstocked. A teacher waved at me with a child's handwriting tattooed across his palm. And the posters? They had both our faces now, side by side, labeled suspect, original draft, dangerous, with a note at the bottom that chilled me more than anything I'd seen so far. Do not return to print. That's when we knew what the town wanted. It didn't want to kill us. It wanted to overwrite us. And it was almost done. We didn't run anymore. Running didn't help. You can't outrun paper. You can't escape a place that knows how to rewrite the ground under your feet. So we stopped pretending. We moved at night. We spoke only when necessary. We avoided mirrors, windows, anything that might carry a reflection back to the town. And we started looking for the originals, not just mine, not just Evelyn's, all of them. Because the posters weren't just signs, they were signals, open cases, active files. The town kept the faces visible until it found a way to finish the rewrite. We figured if we could find just one living person still out there who had no idea they were being replicated, we might be able to break something, tear the page in just the right place. We started with a name that Evelyn remembered, Marcy Lynn Darrow. That was her original. She remembered the dog, the bedroom, the birthday party with no candles. It came back in fragments, smells, textures, the weight of a particular kind of sadness. We checked databases. We hacked into the library's dusty archives, found an old article, small town obit from a place hundreds of miles away. Girl named Marcy disappeared at 9 years old. No body, just gone. Declared legally dead after 10 years. But I looked at the grainy photo and it was her, Evelyn, but not. A sharper smile, a different posture, same bones. We stared at that picture for hours. Evelyn didn't cry. She just kept saying, "That's not me, that's not me, that's not me." But it was, and she knew it. That night, we walked to the edge of town, past the old quarry, past the trees that whisper your name if you pass them too slowly. We found a place that felt unwritten. No buildings, no poles, no signs, just earth, still damp. We buried the poster, the one with her face. We didn't say a word, and for a few hours, the world went still. No flyers on the poles, no whispers behind the glass. It was like the town had blinked. We thought it worked, until we got back and found new posters everywhere, freshly taped. This time, no faces, just this: "If you erase us, you finish us," and below that, "One of you is a first draft." We didn't know what it meant, but the message was clear. We were messing with the ink before it was dry, trying to rip the pages while the story was still being written. And the town was correcting us. That's when the writing started. On me. Not letters, not flyers, words. On my skin. I woke up to them. Small phrases, looping handwriting, like notes jotted in the margins of a textbook. They started on my back, then my arms. By day 3, they reached my throat. I stood in front of the mirror and read one out loud, not because I wanted to, because I couldn't stop myself. And as I spoke it, Evelyn screamed, dropped to the floor, hands over her ears. Said it felt like her memories were being overwritten. Like each word I said recolored a part of her life in real time. I stopped. We knew what it meant. I wasn't just being written, I was being used to write her. One of us was a draft, the other, a template, and the town hadn't decided who was who. Or maybe it had, and just didn't tell us. After that, we didn't sleep near each other. We left notes instead of speaking. Drew maps of where we'd go, when we'd return, what to do if one of us stopped responding. We were fighting a story that didn't need logic. It just needed structure, a name, a setting, a conflict, an ending. We tried to starve it. We stopped doing what it expected. We stayed inside when the flyers came. We ignored the streets they wanted us to walk. We stood still when the wind whispered our names. And for a while, it worked. No new posters, no new edits. I stopped seeing new words on my body. Evelyn started remembering things that weren't haunted by paper. Then one night, we got a knock. Soft. 3 times. We didn't answer, didn't breathe. Then the knock came again. And again. Always 3. Until morning. We opened the door and found a stack of blank pages. Unfolded. Clean. Waiting. With one line printed on the top sheet. "You've been given the pen." I looked at Evelyn. She looked at me. And I swear, we didn't speak, but I knew we had the same thought. Whoever writes first becomes the real one. We didn't touch the pages for 2 days, left them on the table like a ticking bomb made of silence. Blank paper takes on a kind of gravity when you know the first word might decide who gets to stay. Evelyn started talking less again. Not because she didn't trust me, because she wasn't sure if her voice was hers. Every time she spoke, she looked at me afterward like she needed confirmation that the sentence belonged to her, that it hadn't come from a script she didn't remember writing. And me, I started to feel too solid. My skin didn't itch anymore. The words stopped showing up. The world stopped glitching around me. I was stabilizing, and I hated it, because I knew what it meant. I was winning. And if I was winning, she was fading. I started seeing it in small ways. She'd trip over memories, forget where she put things. Once, I caught her standing in front of the mirror, running her hands over her face like she was learning it for the first time. She said, "I think I'm down to the final draft." I said, "You're not going anywhere." She didn't say anything back, because I think she already knew. The town doesn't need both of us. We were built from the same mold, same ink, same bones bent into different pages. It only ever wanted one. That night, I couldn't sleep. The pen on the table pulsed with the softest hum. Not sound. Something internal, like it was vibrating under the skin of the world, waiting for a hand. I sat there in the dark, looking at those pages. No lines, no prompts, just white space and potential. All I had to do was write one sentence, one version of what happened, one detail that tipped the scale. I picked up the pen, held it, didn't write, just felt the weight of it. And I swear, it felt warm, alive, like something breathing through my fingertips, whispering, "Just make it real." I thought about writing her name, just to keep her safe. A name is powerful in a place like this. It locks things down, plants them. But the longer I held the pen, the more my hands started moving without me. Just a twitch at first, then a curl. The first letter scrawled itself, a loop, then another. It wasn't her name, it was mine. I dropped the pen. It hit the table with a sound that didn't belong to wood or metal, like ink hitting bone. Evelyn woke up in the next room, screaming. I ran in. She was sitting up in bed, eyes wide, mouth open, but no sound. Her voice was gone, literally gone. She tried to speak, nothing came out, just a gasp, a shape. She pointed to her throat, then to the window. I turned. There was a new poster outside, taped to the glass, same layout, same design. Her face, but this time, blank where the name should be. No Evelyn, no Marcy, just a photo, and underneath 2 words that froze my blood. Redundant entry. She started crying, quiet, because that was all she had left, and I held her, because that's all I could do. The town had made its choice, and it wasn't cruel, it was efficient. I was the cleaner copy, the more stable imprint, the better fit for the next chapter. She was a draft, a rough sketch, too emotional, too aware, too loud, and the town doesn't like loud. The next morning, she was gone. Not in the dramatic way, no ash, no scream, just gone. No indent in the pillow, no toothbrush by the sink, no extra coat on the hook, like she'd been uninvited from the narrative. But here's the part that broke me, the part I haven't said out loud until now. I still remember her, everything, her laugh, her favorite color, the way she flinched whenever someone used her old name. And that's not supposed to happen. People who get written out don't leave shadows. But she left me, and that means I'm not the real one either. I'm just what the town settled for, a placeholder that remembered too much. And now the pages are back, stacked higher, pen darker, and I know what they want. They want the next story, a fresh draft, maybe someone like you, someone who listens too long, who wonders what it would feel like to see their face on a flyer, someone curious. And once I finish this sentence, I think I disappear too, because there's only so much room on the page. I didn't think I'd be here this long. When it started, I thought it would end in blood. Running, screaming, something loud enough to prove I existed. But that's not how this place works. It doesn't end you, it edits you. And when it's done, it doesn't crumple the page. It just files it under something else and starts again. The days feel like reprints now. Same people, different order, same buildings, but the windows face new directions. This morning, I walked past the same coffee shop I've been passing since the day I arrived. Only this time, it was called something else. I walked in. No one looked at me. The barista asked for a name. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. Not silence, absence, like there wasn't a name to give. So I walked out. And on the sidewalk, under my feet, I found a flyer, torn, damp. It said, "Lost, identity unknown, please return to origin." And in the corner, so faint I almost missed it, was a line I'd seen before. Handwriting matches subject. I folded it, took it with me, not sure why. There's nothing left to explain, nothing left to fix. But there's one thing I need you to know, and I need to say it before I go. I've been hearing the new drafts. They whisper through vents, hide in pages. Some of them aren't even people yet, just phrases with potential, but they're real. And one of them has your name, not just metaphorically, literally. I've seen the test copy, typed out, staring at me. Same bones, different ink, you're next. Not because you're special, because you're listening. Because you paid attention. That's all it takes. You read one poster too many. You stared too long at someone you shouldn't remember. You clicked on something that wasn't written for you, but sounded just familiar enough to feel like home. The town doesn't pick people, it adopts attention. It takes those who lean in, who wonder, who follow just far enough to feel the cold coming through the screen. That's how I got here. That's how Evelyn was built. That's how you've already started. You'll notice small things first. The clerk at the corner store calling you by a name you don't remember giving. A photograph where your face is just slightly wrong. Someone asking where you've been, even though you never left. The posters will come next. They won't start with your name. They'll start with someone near you, a neighbor, a co-worker, a person you passed once on a street you don't remember walking. And when you see that face on paper, you'll pause. You'll feel something tighten just under your ribs. That's the hook. That's the moment the draft opens and leaves a blank space for your shadow. And if you don't walk away, if you keep looking, you're on the page. It might not happen right away, but one morning, you'll wake up and someone will call you a different name. You'll check your phone and the texts will sound unfamiliar, like a version of you with slightly better punctuation. You'll pass a mirror and see a reflection that blinks just before you do, and then you'll find your poster. You'll think it's a prank, a mistake, but deep down, you'll feel it. The town has found you, or worse, it's been writing you all along. So here's my last truth. I'm not Daniel anymore. That name doesn't belong to me. It never did. It was a placeholder, a headline for a person who never got written properly. Now, I'm just leftover ink. So I'm giving you what I never had. A chance to stop reading. A moment to forget. Don't follow this any further. Don't search for Evelyn. Don't trace the names. Because if you do, the page turns, and you're what comes next. And if you're hearing this, it means I've been erased just right. Not enough to vanish, just enough to fit. And you've already started fading. I can feel it from here.